Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 103. That's correct. It's hard to believe, but we're on episode number 103 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we are coming to you once again from the international headquarters of GSM Services right here in downtown Gastonia. We are highlighting another great organization this week as we discuss the Highland Neighborhood Association, and we have one of the original organizers of the group organization, Danielle Barber, with us today. Danielle, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Stephen. It's great to be here today.
Very good. Before we get started, though, I'm going to give Naomi a hard time and myself a hard time because I just had some dental work done, so we'll be lucky to get through this, and we're lucky that Naomi's here because what happened right before? I'm throwing you under the bus right on the episode. Naomi might not be able to get back in her house later this afternoon, so it's a Monday here at GSM. So, Danielle, it's great to have you on. I appreciate your time. And we are going to obviously spend most of the time talking about the Highland Neighborhood Association. But if you don't mind, before we get started with that, just tell us a little about yourself, anything that you'd like to share for our listeners.
Sure. Again, my name is Danielle Barber, and I'm so excited to be here today. Well, a little bit about myself. I was born and raised here in the city of Gastonia. And I love Gastonia, and which is why I went off to school, but ultimately I wanted to come back and serve my community. So here I am. I grew up not far from where we are sitting right now in the Highland community, and it's just amazing to me how things happen in life. So I grew up in Highland, and now I'm not only working in the Highland community, but I'm also have the pleasure of serving the residents of Highland through the work that I do. So
it's okay to talk about some of that other work that you do. Is it possible that you are involved with the city somehow?
Yeah, just a little bit. So I do serve on the Gastonia City Council. I was elected back in 2019. And I'm up for re-election this year, so shameless plug.
That's okay.
But I am running unopposed, so hey, but I still solicit everyone's vote.
So the chances are looking positive.
Yeah, looking pretty good.
At the moment,
I'm sleeping pretty good at night.
As long as we don't have any disasters happen between here and there on election day.
That's right.
So again, I think our listeners like to hear a little bit about background, and I mean, as we go, please feel welcome to share anything else about that. And again, it's always good for me to have lifelong Gastonia residents here. I'm a resident as well, grew up here.
Yeah, I'm hearing we're becoming a rare breed.
Yeah, well,
people are shocked when you tell them you.
You know what? I have heard that a few times. But my only time away was a few years at college, as well. So yeah, but again, I'm the same. I've been involved with multiple things that Danielle has been involved with, and it's obvious your passion and caring for our community. So I'm grateful for that. So let's get right to it. So what is the Highland Neighborhood Association? Is there a mission? What's kind of your role since it's been started? And then just anything and everything you'd like to share.
Yeah, so the Highland Neighborhood Association evolved in organically,
sure,
I would say.
Yeah.
Started out with a group of community members who were concerned about the health issues of the community. It started out as it relates to the physical and medical health of the community, and it just, through meetings and coming together, eventually saw how the importance of health in the role overall of the community, not just our physical health, but
sure.
The safety of our community, the socioeconomic backgrounds of the various families that make up the community. So, it was just amazing as we continue to come together and meet to see how the role that health played throughout the community and how it impacted everyone in different ways. So after continuously and consistently meeting for over a year, the community decided, well, we need to be formally organized because grant opportunities were being presented and opportunities to make a true impact in the community was being presented. So it was back in 2018 that the Highland Neighborhood Association became, an organization that's recognized by the IRS as a 501c3 organization.
Right.
So again, the mission is to promote the health and well-being of the residents of the Highland community. And because we have community watch groups, we all work together to make sure that we're not duplicating services or efforts. So the mission and the vision of the community of the Highland Neighborhood Association is to focus on the health and well-being of the community and the issues that impact the health and well-being of the community. So a lot of the infrastructure upgrades, a lot of beautification projects, and a lot of the different projects that you can visually see around the Highland community, including the housing, the new housing that you see. The community members have worked diligently with the city of Gastonia, with public health, Contegra Health, to bring forth some changes in the community.
Interrupt you, but you do have an association with Contegra Health also, is that correct?
I do, just a little bit. So that's my day job.
Right.
I do work for Contegra Health, and the Highland Neighborhood Association would not exist without Contegra Health. Contegra Health serves presently as like the backbone organization for the Highland Neighborhood Association. The HNA, which is what we like to call it, we do not have full-time staff. We don't have any paid staff. Right. Everything is volunteer based. So in order for us to take advantage of the opportunities, especially the financial opportunities that are presented, you have to have a backbone organization that can be fiscally responsible and have the capability and the capacity to be able to administer the grants that we receive. So, while the members of the HNA invest in the organization, other organizations or other entities invest as well, including the partners that I named. Another partner would be Caramount Health, have made investments in the community, but we have funders such as Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina Foundation, the Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation, and another collaborative effort, a community, would be the Build Health Challenge. And I would encourage you to Google the Build Health Challenge, and that's a national award that the Highland Neighborhood Association was able to partake in, again, with the combined efforts of Contegra Health, Public Health, Gaston County Health Department, that is, and Contegra. Okay. Contegra, Public Health, and Caramount made that possible to be able to partner with the HNA to receive that award. And a lot of people don't make the connection between Ram's Kitchen and the Highland Neighborhood Association. So Ram's Kitchen was birthed out of the Highland Neighborhood Association, and the HNA serve as the experts, so to speak. We lean on the HNA members to make recommendations for what they like to see as menu items for Ram's Kitchen, how to make Ram's Kitchen better and stronger. So a lot of times people don't make that connection, but it's all connected, and it's all to bring about improved health and well-being in the community.
All right, so for those listeners who aren't familiar with Ram's Kitchen, I would encourage you to go to episode number 43 of Gaston's Great, when we had Ram's Kitchen on. It was a great episode. Matter of fact, it happened to be the episode that, Bill Poteet was here from the Gaston Gazette. So you can also Google an article about the Gaston's Great podcast, and that just happened to be the day that he came, was when we had Ram's Kitchen on, and that's so long ago, I'm totally forgetting who the guest was. But
I believe it was Brandy Meeks.
Yes, it was. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember last week, Danielle, much less that long ago. So yeah, that was a really good episode. So you mentioned a lot there. So, and you mentioned Ram's Kitchen as an example of an initiative maybe, or a program. I'm not sure the best way to describe that, but I know it's sure become something that a lot of people in Gastonia are aware of. And Are there any other specific maybe initiatives or programs, things that you guys are or might be doing or involved with specifically?
Yes, certainly. So, a lot has happened in the past 7.5 years since the community first came together to express their concerns, take a look around the community to see and to say what they feel needs to be improved. So a lot of the changes and improvements that you see around Irwin Center came about because H&A members, many who are lifetime residents of the Highland community, expressed their concerns and their desires to see upgrades to Irwin Center. In particular, the bathrooms. It was pointed out that Irwin Center was one of the only community centers in the community that's heavily and actively used that did not have outside bathrooms. When there's great participation in activity that take place outside,
right?
But no way of being able to use a restroom outside. So the city heard the concern and not only heard it, but decided to do something about it. So now when you visit Irwin Center, you see that there are public bathrooms outside for people to be able to use while they're utilizing the outside facilities of Irwin Center. The high visibility crosswalks. We have a lot of people that walk in the Highland community. So it was important to promote safety, and you'll see high visibility crosswalks all throughout Highland. And that was because, again, of the safety issues and concerns that many people in Highland expressed. Once again, the city stepped up and said, okay, this is something that we can do to, and that was more of a prevention. We don't want to be, we want to be more preventative than reactive. So that's a way to promote safety in the community. The LED lighting that has, you'll see it throughout the city now, but when the city first started converting or made the decision to convert LED lighting, again, that was a part of the safety plan for Highland in response to Highland residents expressing their concerns for safety in the community. So that project actually started in the Highland community. The converting of LED lighting started in Highland, and now as you drive throughout the city, you'll see those conversions happening all across the city. So, and then housing. The city at one point, and they're doing a project now, but now as opposed to the city doing it, they're partnering with another organization to build housing in the community. Okay. Again, to give an opportunity for families in the community to take advantage of affordable housing. So the city built several houses a few years ago in the community, and now people are living in homes that, as when they walked in, the homes had a value higher than what they paid for them because they were able to take advantage of programs to help them have down payment assistance and to lower the cost of the home. Again, it's about equity and giving people the opportunity to take advantage of the same opportunities that most residents would like to see and experience.
All right. So, again, that's several great initiatives there. I might stick my foot in my mouth with this question, but did H&A have anything to do with the youth community garden? Sure,
we sure did. So the H&A oversees the Highland Youth Garden, which is located at 551 North Boyce Street. And that garden, actually the way it came about, we were having these meetings, and I noticed that the adults or parents, grandparents, they were bringing their children and grandchildren. I'm like, we need something for the kids to do. So the kids started meeting on their own, and they came up with the name of their group, which they're called the Highland Cultivators.
Okay,
they are a 4-H group. And that partnership has allowed youth to be able to take advantage of opportunities that they would not have normally been exposed to through 4-H. So children attend camps every year children experience horseback riding, canoeing, all types of activities that they would not have experienced if it was not for the partnership with the Highland Cultivators and Gaston County Cooperative Extension and the 4-H program. So yes, so children are out in the garden weekly. They set up their own market. They plant plant seeds, they plant produce, and they receive and harvest the produce. And in some Saturdays you can ride by and they have a market set up where they sell their produce. So they're always excited about the returns that they receive for their hard work.
Absolutely.
Gardening is hard work.
Yes, it is.
But those kids enjoy it. And it's just a joy to be able to support them. And we're thankful for the Rotary, our Rotary.
That's right. Yeah, that's how I became familiar with it.
Yes.
And we've worked out there some.
Yeah,
too,
who partnered, who was a partner, strong partner for that garden, and has been instrumental in making sure that the children have what they need to be successful in their gardening.
So, I mean, we haven't talked, but gosh, 14 or 15 minutes maybe, and you've already heard a lot, okay, that the H&A is doing. And is it fair to say that some of our listeners have probably heard, you mentioned this earlier, like community watch groups and maybe even homeowners associations for smaller neighborhoods, but this is really kind of unique. It's not a community watch group. That's something that's separate, and it's not really a classic HOA group. And so that's kind of one reason we wanted to talk with you about it is, do you know, just curious, how many active members you have in the association?
We have about 40 active members.
Okay, wow, that's good.
Yeah, we have about 40 active members, and it's open not to just residents of Highland, but it's open to, we have people who own businesses in Highland that are part of the H&A. We have people who may no longer live in the community, but they are passionate about the community, their members. We have people who once lived, like myself. I used to live in Highland, but I have family that live in Highland, and I care about what happens to the Highland community. So we have several people who may not live there anymore, but they have a vested interest. So when we first started, my tagline was, if you live, work, or worship in the Highland community, you are invited, or if you have a vested interest in the Highland community, you're welcome to be a part of this group. So that's how we've been able to sustain what we've been able to accomplish, because we lead with the community first. They're the decision makers. They decide what happens. They volunteer, and that's how we've made it sustainable. Because to your point, it's unlike any other organization that I feel we have in our community, because it's not a HOA where people pay dues to have to be a part, to be a part of it. Although we have some elements of community watch, and the only reason why we've kind of stepped into that role is because of COVID. It really changed how our community watch groups in Highland operated. Those groups are made up of a lot of seniors. And, some of them are still a little bit skittish about being in public places and groups. So we're able to meet that need as well.
Well, yeah, a lot of things shifted, right, during that period, and we still see the results of that now. So you've already shared a lot of reasons. I'm going to ask this question anyway, and you may have already answered this, but looking back, since the beginning since you first came together as a group, excuse me, is there something that stands out that you can share as an impact, or something you're most proud of the group accomplishing, the organization accomplishing since you've been involved?
Yeah, I would say, which is one of the reasons why it was important for us to come together and to be organized, was because of the history of Highland. Okay. At one point when I was growing up in Highland was a thriving community. It was a place where everyone wanted to be. And even before my time, early in my childhood and prior to me being born in the community, everything that was needed or that a resident needed was provided in the Highland community. And we know that was because of segregation, that people in the Highland community pretty much had to be creative and create their own businesses in order to meet the needs of the community. Well, when integration happened, a lot of people saw that as an opportunity to leave Highland and to venture out into other parts of the community. We know that a lot of people were able to pursue their education, and once they moved away, went to college, some of them did not return. So that left a void and an emptiness in the Highland community. And so we saw a lot of things literally go away or even die in the community. Of course, and we know where there's a void, sometimes that can attract things that are not so positive.
Something might fill it.
Something's going to fill it, and it may not be what you want to fill it. So, unfortunately, areas that should have been occupied or that was once occupied by homes and buildings and businesses, those areas are now occupied by the county jail. It's now occupied by county government buildings. So, an area that was once thriving, that was filled with businesses and homes and people, is now occupied by huge cement, huge buildings. And the community didn't have a say-so in that. They just, drove through the community, over time, and they start seeing land being cleared, and no one asked the community, no one received the permission of the community. So that was detrimental and created a lot of hostility among residents toward local government. So one of the things I'm most proud of that we've been able to accomplish, I feel that strongly that we have been able to repair the breach that once existed among the Highland community and local government, and it was done through the HNA. City staff came to the table, and no matter how hot the seat became, they stayed and worked through the issues, and not only heard residents but brought forth action, and so that restored the respect that community members had for local government. Is it perfect? Of course not. No relationship is perfect, but it has come a very long way, and community residents now have direct contacts to city staff. They can pick up the phone and call them themselves. They know how to advocate for themselves. And I'm willing to say that there's not much or anything that will happen in the Highland community without the HNA knowing about it.
Right.
They are now the gatekeepers. They're organized. So that's very important because it's allowing the community to shape what they desire their community to look like and be able to meet the needs of the residents who live there.
Well, they're the ones who know. I mean, they know more than about what's going on day to day, and then the city does.
Absolutely.
And that's the case with any neighborhood. But government. You know what? And you mentioned something about no matter how hot those things got, isn't it? I'd like to see a little more of that, right, where people can have these discussions about important things. It seems like these days, if you're not yelling at each other, it's unfortunate where we're at. It seems like that's why I think that's one of the reasons I like Gaston County so much. Things happen, but we seem to be able to talk about them in general, whether it's H&A or city government or a church. Gaston Together, what Gaston Together has done for the community and the relationship between the community and law enforcement here. I mean, I was fortunate I'm still on the Gaston Together board, and a lot of that came, some of that healing came, I think, through that too. So it doesn't require the government, so to speak, to intervene for us to be able to talk to each other and solve problems.
Absolutely.
So this is the classic question we like to ask because you've shared so much already, but looking ahead over the next few years, is there any big plans for the organization or the neighborhood, or is there initiatives you've got that you guys have got that you'd like
Yeah.
to accomplish or that you could share? Or
We do. So, we're very interested and motivated to continue having an impact upon the infrastructure of the community. So, the Highland Neighborhood Association was fortunate to be chosen by another organization that came into the event was actually held in Charlotte, and it's called the Congress for New Urbanism. And the Congress for New Urbanism brings together architects, financiers, urban planners from all across the country. And this year they were in Charlotte, North Carolina. This was back in May of this year. And so the end of May into the 1st of June is when the event was held. So the Highland Neighborhood Association, the HNA, applied for the opportunity to receive pro bono services from the Congress for New Urbanism to be able to address some of the infrastructure needs and issues in the community. Now, the connection with the infrastructure is also connected to Ram's Kitchen. Ram's Kitchen is in need of its own space. Right now, we're housed within 3rd Street Presbyterian Church, and that's the church's space that they are so graciously allowing us to share. But Rams, we need our own space, right? Church members, not necessarily interested in coming to church on Sunday and smelling turkey burgers, but right now they're dealing with it, and we're so grateful for them for that. So this was an opportunity for us to challenge the Congress for New Urbanism to take a tract of land that we have access to in the Highland community and design it for Ram's Kitchen. And they went a step further. They not only took this tract of land and made a design for the Highland for Ram's Kitchen, but they also gave us a rendering for what housing could look like and connecting it to Ram's Kitchen. And then they went even another step further and went outside of the tract of land to show us what this entire area could look like in the Highland community. So that does a couple of things for HNA. One, it gives us a clear-cut plan because they didn't do it. We held a charrette back in March. So this is not something that architects came in and did and say, oh, this is what you should do. They made a concerted effort to come into the community. Marcus King from Detroit, Michigan, who has an architect firm located in Detroit, came into town, and Gastonia's very own Terry Shook, who is with Shook Kelly, located in Charlotte, North Carolina, took on the project. They came in, spent a considerable amount of time. They're continuing to spend time in our community with HNA to make an investment and to help show us what, with community input, with community, with the community leading the efforts to show us what this could look like. So we're real excited that we now have this finished product of what our community could look like based on what we as community residents, those of us who are invested in the community, have said that we would like to see. So we're real excited to take this on the road and to share it with our partners, which includes the city of Gastonia, and show what this could possibly look like, what Highland could look like, again, being led by community residents.
So, okay, that's good, because that's, one of our offices, if listeners don't know, we actually, Highland is kind of in between, not a direct line, but it's in between our two offices, and our older office is connected. I mean, where it is, it's, quarter of a mile, we're probably in Highland from where that location is. So we have a real connection since the late 40s to the Highland community, and I think it's fair to say what you mentioned earlier. We have seen it change over the years as well, even where our building is located. But kind of, again, staying on this looking ahead, because we might have some partners or somebody who might not be aware of the organization. Somebody said, well, you know what, we do have a connection, or some type of, if they're listening, what is the greatest need? What's the next thing? What would you say? Is that a fair question? And I'm going to ask kind of out of ignorance another question. Is Highland considered, because we've heard this through Rotary before, the different areas of the county that are considered food deserts? Am I using the right term?
That's correct. Food insecure, food desert. The name
food
changes often, but definitely lacks food access.
Right.
And that's really how we came about.
Without having to drive a certain distance, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you drive throughout the Highland community, you will not find a grocery store.
Right.
So people, residents either have to go to a Walmart that's located East Gastonia, East Franklin, West Franklin, or they have to go all the way into Dallas to go to the grocery store, or on Garrison Boulevard, the food line on Garrison.
The Ingalls over there is probably the closest.
In Dallas?
In Dallas, yeah.
Dallas would probably be, and that's in a...
Just to give somebody some reference if they're not, they don't know
an entirely different town in order to get.
Sure.
So, and really that's how food access became a main issue, a main concern for the H&A, because community residents would love to see nothing more, would love to have nothing more than to have a grocery store in the community.
Right.
And so, people kept, that was just an issue that kept bubbling up to the top. And so that's how Ram's Kitchen was birthed, to address the lack of food access, fresh, healthy food in the community. While we have several corner stores, a Family Dollar, we do not have a grocery store. So, we would love to see that come to fruition, of a fresh market. So we've just been doing what we needed to do in order to meet the needs of our community. At the Highland Health Center, when during growing season, and that's another partnership that we have with the Rotary Community Garden. Every Monday and Friday, we pick up from the Rotary Community Garden, and whatever is in season, we set up a market inside of the Highland Health Center, and patients can come in, as they're leaving out from their appointments, they're able to grab a bag and fill that bag up with whatever produce we have for that day. So again, we try to make all efforts and get creative in filling that gap of residents not having access to food, fresh, affordable, and healthy food options. So, the needs are great. We need people, whether it's bankers or, financiers, to step up and make an investment in us. We need people who have the power to bring a business to our community to be able to fill the gap of residents and their need to have access to fresh and affordable food, to step up. So, the need, we continue to have needs, and as a community, we're determined to meet those needs in the best way we know how.
Okay, so again, I appreciate that, and I want to try to be respectful of your time. I think we could talk about this the rest of the afternoon. So, but is there anything I haven't asked that I should have asked, or anything you'd like to share before we start to wrap this episode up? You've covered a lot.
Yeah, nothing that I can think of. Just want to thank our partners for hanging in there with us. It was a bit scary for them, when we first started, because, they felt we could, as a community, could be asking for things that they were not able to. Sure. They didn't want to come in and make promises that they couldn't deliver on, or they feared community members asking for things that they were not able to make happen. But very quickly they found that, just coming to the table, talking about it, whether you can deliver on it or not, being transparent, being honest, has gone a long way. And now the facility that we have, the Highland Health Center, it has been embraced in the community, and many people, we meet there as a community. That's where our meetings are held every second Tuesday of every month. So we're very, very appreciative and very thankful for our partners, the Contegra Health, Gaston County Department of Health and Human Services Public Health Division, Caramount Health, the City of Gastonia, Gaston County Cooperative Extension, the Rotary Club. You know, we're very, very thankful for the partners and the investments that they have made and the sacrifices that they have made, because their staff are not paid extra to do what they do. And we do, you know, because we're meeting with residents, we meet when it's convenient for residents, and it's not convenient from 8 to 5 o'clock. So many staff members find it not robbery to meet at 5 and 6 and 7 o'clock in the evening. So we're very thankful. We're thankful for all of our patrons, all of our customers of Ram's Kitchen, and all those who make investments in the work that we're doing.
All right, well, very good. So before we finish up, though, we're going to, especially since you're a Gastonia, lifelong Gastonian, is that a right word? Is that a correct word?
Yeah, why not?
We're not going to let you off of a few Gaston County related questions, and then we'll let you get back to your real life. So, Danya, what is maybe your favorite act when you're not saving the world with the city or H&A, or what's your favorite activity, park, or something here to do in Gaston County?
Well, it has become Caramount Health Park.
The
Fuse District.
Great location.
Yeah. Yep. You know, that has become, I'm not a bit interested in baseball, to be quite honest. But I'm interested in the popcorn. I'm interested in the fellowship and just the spirit of the people who enter the gates of that facility. So I take a lot of pride in showing that park off to people who visit our community, or if I have family and friends who are in town, or just who live right here in the city when there's a game. You know, I'm not a bit more paying attention to what's happening on that field. I'm doing more talking than I am watching and looking. But I enjoy visiting Caramount Health Park.
And it's been used for a lot of other things too. We were just there, the company was, and some of our team members there Saturday morning for the Walk to End Alzheimer's.
Yes.
So, you know, there's a lot of things that the park is being utilized for, you know, besides baseball, right?
That's exactly
and so,
right.
very good. So, are you Sundrop or Cheerwine person?
Okay, so I was Sundrop. So unfortunately, I had to give up sodas.
Yeah, I mean,
had to.
I'm a former Sundrop person as well. Years ago,
it wasn't by choice. But unfortunately, I suffer with kidney stones. And it was determined it was because of how many Sundrops I was drinking.
I have heard that. I didn't have to do it that way, but I will admit, I think we shared this on the last episode, I think, that from last week, but I gave it up for Lent one year.
Oh.
And on Easter Sunday, when I went back to it, I had gone so long without it, I couldn't do it.
Wow.
You know, it is just so syrupy.
Yeah,
but anyway, it's a great Gaston County classic, though.
It is, and my mouth just waters anytime I see someone drinking one.
Yeah.
I used to go to the convenience store in Franklin. They had the Sundrop slushies.
Oh, yeah.
And in the summer, I would have one every day, but I had to give them up, unfortunately.
Yeah, even my son yesterday had a Cheerwine Zero Sugar, and I had to try it just because, you know, I just don't do those much anymore, and I
just wasn't the same.
Wasn't the same.
Yeah.
No. What is something very few people know about you, Danielle?
Oh boy. Something that very few people know. Very few people probably do not know that I was actually 17 when I graduated high school. I put off going to college my first semester to go abroad. To go to the country, a small country in Southeast Asia called Brunei, which at that time was the richest country in the world. Their natural resource is oil. was oil, continues to be oil. And very few people probably know that. I had the opportunity, I was a guest of the royal family in Brunei.
So this is our first royalty on the podcast?
Yeah, well,
I'm familiar with that only because of
it.
your new member talk from Rotary.
Yes.
That's the only.
You're right, yes. I did share that.
Yeah.
But I would say that's something very few people know about me.
That's very unique.
Yeah, very unique.
You're not going to hear that from very many people.
I celebrated my 18th birthday in Brunei.
Wow, that was a great story when you shared that with our club. So you remember this is a podcast about Gaston County. Great things happening around Gaston County. But so besides the Highland Neighborhood Association, why would you say Gaston County is such a great place?
Gaston County is such a great place because of the people. I hear, we talked about in the beginning how we're kind of a rare breed,
Yeah.
But it's because of the people. People are friendly, people are loving, people are caring in Gaston County. And I was on social media yesterday, and in this particular group that I'm in, and it's one of my sorority chats, and someone said this particular day said her and her family were looking to relocate after retirement to North Carolina. And so, of course, I had to put that plug of, hey, this is the only place to be and a place to come. And I'm more than happy to give you a tour of our community if you'd like to see what we have to offer here in Gaston County. The people, I love our community. I love the people. People are friendly. People are warm. And I feel like it's home. And the people make it feel like home. So, the people.
I agree. That's a relatively common answer, but you know what? That's I think the best description of our community. Danielle, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Oh, my 20-year-old self. I would have went to law school.
Wow.
Yeah. So I procrastinated, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to do go to law school or if I wanted to be in public administration. I couldn't quite decide.
Right.
So I put it off and I procrastinated. And here I am so many years later, and I haven't done either one. But I am, a public servant now. So that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self, go ahead, make that plan and pursue law school. Just make a choice.
Yeah. I got you.
Either go to App State and pursue public administration or go to law school,
Yeah.
Make a choice. That's what I would tell my 20-year-old self.
Well, it's easy to, it's so easy, right, to look back on those things when it's a few years later. But you know what? I think it's possible that your community is better off maybe because you didn't.
Yeah, I agree. I have no regrets. And I feel like the path that I have taken shaped me to be what I am and who I am. So I have no regrets. But if I had to tell my 20-year-old self anything, that's what.
So, Danya, this has been really good. So where can our listeners go if they wanted to find more information out about Highland Neighborhood Association, or if it's somebody who does have a close connection somehow to the Highland neighborhood? Is there someplace they can go to learn more? Or?
Sure. We're on Facebook. We do have a Facebook page. And on our Facebook page is Healthy Highland. So you can find us on Facebook. If you hear Healthy Highland, if you hear Healthier Highland, it's all the same.
Okay.
Highland Neighborhood Association, Ram's Kitchen. It's all connected. We also have a Ram's Kitchen page as well. But I'm also, call me up if you have any questions. You want to know when we're meeting and how to attend a meeting. I can be reached at 704-813-9384. And I'm happy to share any information and answer any questions concerning the HNA.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, Danya, I appreciate your time. And because I know how valuable all of our time is, but I appreciate you taking time out to talk to us today. I know that we've got some listeners who are going to learn something from this. And again, as I'm able to say to most of our guests, I appreciate not only what you're doing with the Highland Neighborhood, but so many other things that you're involved with in our community. And our community is definitely better off, and it's a better place because of you and your involvement. So I appreciate that. So,
well, thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
You're very, very welcome. So as usual, I'm going to finish up with my own maybe book or a podcast recommendation, and then a kind of a quote and thought for the week to finish off the episode. I actually got a podcast that I started listening to, probably be 5 or 6 months ago. I'm always looking for leadership podcasts, and it's the Maxwell Leadership Podcast from John Maxwell. And I've shared some books of his before, but I don't think I've shared any of his podcasts. But he's somebody who's probably considered the current guru on leadership maybe here, not just in America, but in the United States anyway, but kind of around the world. So I would encourage you to check that podcast out if you're a podcast listener. Of course, if you're hearing this, you're obviously a podcast listener, right, Naomi? My quote for the week comes from a gentleman named Donald E. Williams, which I think maybe if we get more people to listen to him, and this quote might help us a little bit. And he said, "The things that we share in our world are far more valuable than those which divide us." So remember, anything that you're maybe watching or listening to, sometimes their job is to bring up things that might divide us, and try to pay attention to really what I try to do here is really look around my own experience with my people that live here, right? Everybody I'm interacting with on a day-to-day basis, like Danielle, like Naomi, like the people here at GSM, like my Rotary Club, my church. I don't experience and see all the things that are supposedly so bad. Obviously, there's bad things going on in the world. There's bad things going on around us. There's always ways we can get better as a community, as a society, but I just don't believe it's as bad as some people would like to make us think it is. So again, to our listeners out there, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. We greatly appreciate it, and please continue to spread the word if you can about the podcast, and don't hesitate to contact us here at our email address, which is podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at our website, gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And please follow us on all our social media platforms. And again, give us a good 5-star rating, which helps the podcast get noticed. Thanks again to Danielle for being our guest today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Naomi Hunt and Amy Anderson from GSM Services. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.